Rattlin, Roaring Willie. The third verse was added to this older song by Robert Burns. Oh, Rattlin, Roaring Willie, oh, he the faring for to sell his fiddle and buy some other ware. But Burton wi' his fiddle, the saut here blin't is he, and Rattlin, Roaring Willie, you're welcome hame to me. Oh, Willie, come sell your fiddle and sell your fiddle sae fine. Willie, come sell your fiddle and buy a pint of wine. If I should sell my fiddle, the warl would think I was mad. For money a rantin gae my fiddle and I had. As I come by Crochallan, I cannily keekit ben. Rattlin, Roaring Willie was sitting at yon boord-en, sitting at yon boord-en, and amang good company. Rattlin, Roaring Willie, you're welcome hame to me. So that tune, that's not the tune that was set within the Scots Musical Museum. Look up Ewan McCall, Rattlin, Roaring Willie. He sings a very nice job on that arrangement of the tune. But it's a very old song, and I took an old set of the tune from the Blaikie manuscript of 1692. So let's see. Rattlin, Roaring Willie, he held to the fair, he went to the fair, and so on. The saut here blin't is he. Crochallan. As I come by Crochallan, I cannily keekit ben. Crochallan was the Crochallan Fencibles drinking club, of which Burns was a part, and he wrote this verse in tribute to William Dunbar. Burns wrote, "The last stanza of this song is mine, and out of compliment to one of the worthiest fellows in the world, William Dunbar, Esquire, writer to the Signet, Edinburgh, and colonel of the Crochallan Corps, a club of wits who took that title at the time of the raising the fencible regiments." Crochallan is Gaelic for Collins cattle. The fencibles were volunteers in defense of the country. So anyway, it was a drinking club, and William Dunbar was also Depute Master of the Canongate Kilwinning Masonic Lodge. He presented Burns with a treasured copy of Allan Ramsay's poems, inscribed to his ingenious friend, Mr. Robert Burns, the Bard of Ayrshire. So the tune set I did is called Bony Roaring Willie. And there's another old verse given to this song in Robert Chambers' The Songs of Scotland prior to Burns, which is, if I were just doing this song as a song, I think Burns's little verse is a bit private. I think this is perhaps a better one. Rattlin, Roaring Willie, where have you been so late? I'm going to see my Peggy, sae weel as I ken the gate. Sae weel as I ken the gate, and the tuttlin' o' the pin. And gang I early or late, she'll rise and let me in. Turtlin' o' the pin is rasping, ringing the bell. So weel as I ken the gate, so well as I know the way. The gate is the way, not a gate that you'd unlock. So, is there more to say? Yes. This is a book called, it's a reprint of a book by John Veitch, which is a lovely, beautifully written book called The History and Poetry of the Scottish Border. And he gives some background on the song. First he discusses references by Sir Walter Scott in the Lay of the Last Minstrel, and it's also sung by Alan Cunningham. And he says, Scott quoted in the third edition of the Lay in 1806 certain stanzas of an old ballad referring to Rattlin Willie. He was evidently a minstrel of the sprightly order and a great favourite in the district. From other fragmentary stanzas, Willie was obviously also the hero of some love exploit, common enough in the times. At all times, come on. He had the misfortune to fall out with a contemporary bard about the merits of their songs or playing. The quarrel grew hot, and the two, Willie and Robin of Rule, Robin of Rule Water, retired and fought it out in a duel. Robin, his adversary, was killed. In ordinary circumstances in those times, this was the usual way of settling a quarrel, and counted for little or nothing. But unfortunately for Willie, Robin, the man he slew, had powerful partisans in certain Elliots, especially those of Stobbs and Falnash, and they were determined on vengeance for this Robin of Rule Water. Willie, a poor man without friends or clan, went in hiding, but unluckily gave a clue to his whereabouts by appearing at Jedburgh on the day of the Rood or Cross Fair. Stobbs and Falnash pursued him and caught him on the Ousnam Water, got him taken to Jedburgh, and executed. All this does not appear in Scott or in the Maidment version of the ballad, but it seems to be the truth. Alan Cunningham, knowing Scott's stanzas and the tradition as well, made the incident the subject of a ballad. The merit of identifying Rattlin, Roarin Willie with a historical personage is due to the late Sir Walter Elliot of Wolfley. In a paper contributed by him to the Transactions of the Berwickshire Naturalist Club in 1886, he showed that the Willie of tradition in the ballad was William Henderson of Priesthow, near Skelf Hill in Teviotdale, and that the combat in which Willie slew his compeer Piper took place in 1627. That would be a good 160 years before Burns added his verse to the song. Alan Cunningham's ballad, an exceedingly fine one, is as follows. Our Willie's away to Jedart to dance on the rude day, a sharp sword by his side, a fiddle to cheer the way. The joyous tharms o' his fiddle. Tharms are gut strings. Tharms are the guts. Rob Rule had handled rude, and Willie left New Mill banks, red wet with Robin's blood. Our Willie's away to Jedart, may ne'er the saints forebode that ere sae merry a fellow should gang sae black a road. For Stobbs and young Falnash, they followed him up and doon. In the links of Ousnam Water, they found him sleeping soon. Now may the name of Elliot be cursed frae firth to firth. He has fettered the good right hand that keepeth the land in mirth, and charmed maids' hearts frae dool. And sair will they want him, Willie, when birks are bare at Yule. When birches are bare at Christmas. The lasses of Ousnam Water are rugging and riving their hair, and for the sake of Willie, they'll hear his sangs nae mair. Nae mair to his merry fiddle, dance Teviot's maidens free, make my curses on their cunning, wha guard sweet Willie D. Veitch goes on. That was by Alan Cunningham. The Rattlin, Roarin Willie, which Burns sent to Johnson's Musical Museum with an added stanza, apparently refers to the same personage, but it has in it nothing of the traditional or historic, an element with which the Ayrshire bard had very little sympathy. That's a peculiar remark for the man who wrote Caledonia, which is a complete poetic history of Scotland from the 9th century. But scholars often make false assertions about who Robert Burns was, and this one is one of many such unfortunate comments. And I know that I read this really before I studied Burns, and then I thought, Burns wasn't interested in history. It's absolute garbage. He was fascinated by history and collected and reworked historical ballads and contributed to the Scots Musical Museum and so on. He was inspired by Blind Harry's history of William Wallace. So, yeah. But, I mean, I don't mean to be too negative about Mr. Veitch. This is a beautiful book, full of lovely poetry and history and so on. Anyway, I thought that background was interesting, and hope you did. Thank you.